So setting up in business is amazing. It's super fun. It's challenging, but it's very rewarding, especially when you built something from scratch and you're making money from your own back. But unfortunately, there are some boring things that we have to take care of, especially when we're going into larger businesses and we're looking to grow our companies, because we need to be covered legally, and it's just something that we need to do, unfortunately. So I'm going to cover something really boring today, but hopefully I'll make it a little bit fun. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Michael J. I build 6-figure businesses, I've built 7-figure businesses, and it is my passion and calling in life to teach as many people to do the same, so you can leave that shitty job behind and that nasty boss that you can't stand. And in this video, I'm going to teach you how to register a UK limited company. Okay, so I know I mentioned that this is really boring stuff, but just to kind of ease your pain a little bit with that or concerns, once you've done this, it's done. So whenever you're starting a new company, you're going to have to do this every single time. But if you're only ever going to have one company in your lifetime, which is possible, once you've done it once, you don't have to do it again. So the registration process can be a little bit lengthy, can be a little bit problematic. Once it's done, it is done. And at the end of it, you're going to have a legally registered business that you own that's going to be in your name. You're going to have a legal company number, which is pretty cool in all honesty. And something else, just don't get overwhelmed with this whole process. So I'm a business coach and a business consultant. So I've had hundreds and hundreds of clients at this stage, and it's something that all clients get really overwhelmed with because it sounds bigger and more difficult and just really overly important. But even though it is really important, it is easy in principle. And again, once it's done, and you're going to have a legally registered company all in your name. Okay, so what is a limited company in the UK? It's the vehicle that's tied to all the financial aspects and the legal aspects of your business. All businesses, companies need to have a vehicle where they report things to the government on a regular basis, whether that's monthly, quarterly, or yearly. And no matter what you do in this country and all other countries, the government needs to know what you're doing, and they need to tie your business activity to something, and that something is going to be your limited company. And the government body that we're going to register our limited company in is called Companies House, and that is the body that the government recognise, and it's where all UK companies must register themselves. Again, all to tie back to the government and taxes, legalities, and all the financial aspects of running a business. Something that I wanted to mention, because again, a lot of my business coaching clients get really confused with, is the company and the brand. So as I mentioned before, the company is all the back end of your business activity. None of your customers really care about your company, in all honesty. The only people that are going to care about it is you, your accountant, the government, and eventually, if you want to sell your company, the person who wants to buy the company, whether that's an investor or whoever it is, will need to know details of that company. The brand, however, is going to be the face of your business activity. So it's going to be your logo that's going to be either printed on your products or the packaging of your products, or it's just going to be the face of your services, and people are going to know you from that. As an example of that, Nike have obviously got their Nike with the tick logo, and everyone knows them through that, but their company is actually a different name. Same goes with Coca-Cola, for example. You know the red with the white writing, but you probably don't have a clue what their company name is, because their company name is all the back end stuff that deals with all the financials and legal aspects, and their brand is on the forefront, which customers see and they get to know the company and the business through. So now you know what a limited company is. Why do we need a limited company as a business? So a limited company basically covers you legally to do business, and it almost creates a separate entity apart from yourself. When you're a sole proprietor, for example, all of your business activity is linked to you and your personal assets. Whereas when you create a limited company, you're almost creating something away from you, so nothing that happens within that business is tied to you. It's tied to that legal entity. So it provides more safety net for you and your personal assets. For example, if your business goes down for whatever reason, you and your personal assets like your house and your car, things that you personally own, are not at risk from being taken off you because you've created a legal entity, and everything that you've signed up for, whether that's rent for your premises, whether that's assets that you've bought to run your company, all of that is through that legal entity, which is the limited company and not yourself. So again, it's just all about managing risk. And the more you put away from you and your personal assets, the safer it is for you, because you're never going to get taken all of your personal assets away from you. It also allows for a legal structure to be created for your business and the people that are involved in that business. Something we're going to touch on a little bit later are roles within a limited company. And if you don't have a limited company, no one is really covered legally in that kind of structure. And just as a few examples, you've got shareholders, you've got directors, and so a legal company allows you to set up that legal structure, and it covers every single person within that structure legally. So it just provides more safety for you, the people that are involved in investing in your company or within that legal structure. As well as that, what creating a limited company does, obviously, at the side of a limited company, you're going to need business banking accounts. And through that legal entity and those business bank accounts, you can build up what we call business credit. Obviously, we've got personal credit when we take out loans, credit cards, mortgages, for example. We build up a personal credit. And obviously, the better you are at managing those finances, the higher your credit rating is. That goes the same for business as well. So the more you take out in terms of loans, the more you can manage your finances when it comes to that business and that legal entity, the higher your business credit goes, which means you can get bigger loans, for example, you can get bigger overdrafts, which means that you can grow your company even more, which will become more and more important the more your business grows and the more money you want to earn. Another reason why you need a limited company as opposed to a sole proprietor or a partnership, for example, is that if you're looking to grow that company, obviously your member of staff and your staff base is going to grow. Again, we want to take as much risk away from us personally, just in case one of our members of staff wants to sue us, for example. Under a limited company, you've got a structure there, it's legally covered, and it's much easier to cover yourself and make the business accountable just in case one of your members of staff wants to do something legally against you. Another reason why you might want to set up as a limited company is because there are tax savings if you're clever with it when it comes to expenses. Now, you can offset your expenses against the profits that you earn, which means that you're going to pay less tax. And finally, another reason why you need a limited company as opposed to a different setup is when you're looking to sell your company, if you're ever looking to sell your company, which at some point you're probably going to do, once you've got a legal structure there through a limited company, you're going to find it much easier to sell. Investors look for businesses that they can buy that are covered nicely, legally, and all the financial aspects are all in order through a limited company. So it's just going to make it much easier eventually when you're looking to sell. Something else that I wanted to cover before I go into the steps on how to register your UK limited company is the things or the situations of where you don't need a limited company, because a mistake that I see some people make is getting set up as a limited company immediately, where some businesses may not actually need to do that. So when are the times where you're not going to need a limited company? The first one of those is if you're intending on staying really small. And the main reason for that is to save on costs. Because when you set up a limited company, even though it's pretty cheap to set that limited company up, going forward, the costs do increase when it comes to tax requirements, and just payment of services for things like accounting. And eventually, when you start earning over a certain amount, there's going to be VAT, etc. So the costs do add up when you set up a limited company. So if you're thinking of staying small and not really growing much and you're a one-man band, you might not necessarily need to set up a limited company, but at the same time, you might, which I'll touch upon a little bit later. To add on to that, another reason why you wouldn't need a limited company is, again, all about costs, and tax is actually higher, believe it or not. Some people think when you've got a limited company, you can take dividends, which is true. Dividends you can pay yourself as a director, which is only 7.5%, but on top of that, something that people don't take into consideration is you have to pay 19% corporation tax, and you pay that on top of the dividends. So any profits that you make, you pay corporation tax, and whatever you pay yourself, you have to pay 7.5% on top of that. Whereas if you're a sole proprietor, for example, you won't need to do that. It's just the normal income tax. So obviously in this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to register a company yourself, but I wanted to talk through other options as well, which is to go through an accountant. And in all honesty, when I first started the journey, I was trying to save costs, and so I was doing this myself. But now I don't do it myself. I just pass it to an accountant because I've got an accountant that I've got a relationship with. I trust him, and I can literally get it done within days. Obviously, it does cost a little bit more because someone else is using their time to do that job as opposed to you just doing it by yourself. And the pricing difference is going to be anywhere between 80 to 100 quid difference. So doing it yourself is going to be around 15 to 20 quid, but doing it with an accountant is approximately 100 and 120 quid, depending on where you live and what accountants that you're going to use. Maybe as this is your first time in business, it will be a good exercise to undertake because you're going to get to know the ins and outs a little bit more of what it takes to set up a limited company. So if this is your first time, which I'm assuming it is because you're watching this video, I would definitely do it myself for the first time, and then going forward, once you've got a bit more money there, just give it to an accountant that you've already got that relationship with. In terms of timing, when you need to set your limited company up, because when you're in the early infancy stages of your business where you're gathering requirements, you're doing some research, you're putting some ideas together and you're kind of looking to form a team or just create the team structure, you don't really need to set up your company at that point. The only time when you need to register your limited company is where you're going to actually start operating and running money through the business. Because obviously once you've set your limited company up, you're going to need a business bank account, and anything you do through that business should be run through that business bank account, in all honesty. So as soon as you're ready to start operating and paying for things, or for people start paying you, it's around that point, or give yourself like a few weeks before that point, because it does take a little while to set your business bank account up. So give yourself 2 to 4 weeks leeway before you know you're going to start operating. And just leading on from that, the time it takes to actually set up a company yourself, it's going to take you around a few hours to set up the company, to be honest, on the application form where I'm going to show you. But after that, it's going to take a day or two to go through. Once you are using an accountant though, it's probably going to take a little bit longer. It's probably going to take between 3 to 5 days. So you're not really looking more than a week in totality. But when it comes to setting up your business banking account, which always leads on from setting up your company, that is the thing that takes quite a while, because you've just got to prove loads of things. You've got to fill in loads of forms. They'll ask you a lot of information, things like what you're going to be selling, what's the company structure look like, is there any rules around who can put money in the account, who can take money out of the account, are there going to be any rules needed for the business bank account, things like that. And obviously anything surrounding your identity, so you're going to provide your passport and things like that. So that's the thing that takes the longest, in all honesty, and that takes anywhere between, let's say, 2 to 3 weeks. And just to touch upon something that's quite important when you're setting up a limited company, and that's the roles of that limited company, who's going to play what role. So there's 3 main roles in a limited company. You've got a director, a shareholder, and a company secretary. Now, the last role is a little bit less important, and to be honest, you can do that role, but it is something if you need any kind of board minutes to prove certain things. I don't want to overwhelm you with that, but sometimes you are going to have to provide them, but in all honesty, you can just drum them up really quickly and you can be the company secretary. But the main roles are the director and the shareholder. Now, if you are a director, then you're going to have to be a shareholder pretty much. Unless you're going to bring a director in, or like a managing director, for example, they don't need to be a shareholder. But if you're going to be the sole director of that company and everyone else is going to be a staff member, then you're going to need to be a director and a shareholder. If, for example, though, you've got an investor that's investing that's not going to be playing a role, you're going to have to assign them some shares. So if you're a director, for example, and you're putting no money into it, but you're managing the business, you're creating the business, you might want to assign yourself 50% shares, and the shareholder or the investor might want 50% of the shares. But again, that's just something that you can work out with them, and it's something that you definitely want to keep in mind, because when you're talking about profits, whether you're going to pay the investor and yourself monthly, quarterly, or yearly, you're going to need to know what the split is, whether it's going to be 75-25, 50-50, or anything else that you want to come up with. And just something very quickly to keep in mind there is there are different tax requirements for each role. So for you as a director, you're going to pay yourself dividends, for example, as you are with a shareholder, but there are specific tax savings and tax rules around each role. So again, just look into that a little bit more. I'm not going to touch upon it too much here. Plenty of information out there to find on the internet around that. And just in terms of the responsibilities of those particular roles, if you are a director, then you are basically going to be running and operating that business. Whereas if you're a shareholder, it might be an investor, as I mentioned before. They are just going to invest their money and they're just going to expect to earn money on the money that they invest. And that's why they're only a shareholder. But if you're a director and you're looking to pay yourself dividends, you're going to need to be a shareholder as well, and any other directors that's involved in the company. Okay, so now comes the fun part, or the slight fun part of it anyway, and this is choosing the name. So again, this is not something that's going to be massively important. It's going to be important to you, but it's not going to be important to your customers that are going to be buying your products. But because it's going to be there for a long time, obviously you need to choose something that resonates with you or that's personal to you. And so the first step you need to do here, once you've chosen that name, is to search for that name under the database. And I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. But you need to make sure that no one else has got that name. Once you've searched on that database, you know that you can use that name forever. And I don't really want to go too much into naming conventions and things like that in this video, but go with something that means something to you. So something that I do sometimes, especially if you've got a business partner, I will take my last name, I will take my business partner's last name, and sometimes you can just go Smith and Jones, for example. Or you can take the first few letters of your first name, you can take the first few letters of your second name. If you're Jack Jones, for example, you can call yourself JAJO, which is JJO Limited. Again, you can do that with yours and your business partner's names. You can take the first few letters of your first name or your last name and your business partner's, and there's many others out there as well. You don't even need to use your name, to be honest. Anything that's going to be really specific to the products and services that you're selling, for example, you can just use that. It doesn't need to be your name. A lot of people do because they like it to be linked to them. Just as long as it means something to you and you're going to like it, then just go with it. And once you've done the search and it's not taken, you can go ahead and use it. And now once we've got the name, we need to think about the address, what we want the business to be registered to. So there's two different types of addresses when it comes to business. You've got your trading address and you've got your business address. Now, your trading address is where you're going to be actually selling your products or services. It can be the coffee shop address, for example, the barbers, the fish and chip shop address. But your business address is going to be your legally registered address that's going to link to your company name. So it can be your home, if you like. I know a lot of people that do that. I do that with some of my companies, to be honest. Or it can be your accountants, for example. A lot of accountants will allow you to use their address as your registered business address. It doesn't really matter. The only reason why you wouldn't want to use your home address is if you didn't want people knowing your address. Your customers, for example, could find you on company's house, they could find your address, and if you've done some dodgy dealings, for example, which are hoping that you're not going to be doing that, then you might not want your home address linked to that business or that company. So again, you don't need to use your home address. You can use your accountant's address, but there's both options there for you. And one more thing that you need to keep into consideration when setting up your company on your own is the SIC code, which is a standard industry classification, I believe. And this is basically how you classify what industry you're going to be operating in. Now, it's not going to be a make or break where you're going to get put out of business and you're going to be fined loads of money, but it's definitely something when it comes to tax and tax savings and VAT, for example, that it's going to be relevant. So just try and do as best you can. I will obviously try and give you a little bit of help in this video, but again, if you don't want to do this and it seems overwhelming, you can use an accountant to help you with this. But it's not too difficult. Don't let it overwhelm you. Choosing the classification, if you get it wrong, it's not the end of the world and it's pretty obvious. Just use your common sense and you'll be fine. So now we've gone through all the elements of what it takes to set up a limited company. What is it after that? What do you need to do? What are the requirements? So the first thing you need to, which I mentioned before, is the business bank account, which will need to be in the legal company name. If you're Jack Jones and you've chosen J. Joe Limited, your business bank account will need to be J. Joe Limited as well. It all needs to tie together. And as I mentioned before, that takes anywhere between 2 to 3 weeks to do. But following that, you need to get an accountant. So if you've registered this limited company yourself using this video today, you will now need to find an accountant anyway, because you're not going to be doing your tax returns yourself. So every single year as a limited company or any business, you've got yearly requirements. Sometimes it can be quarterly requirements, but mainly it's going to be a yearly requirement to do your company accounts. Now, you can try give that a go yourself, but I would highly recommend not doing that. This is definitely one for the professionals. This first step that we're taking in this whole video, registering the limited company, is fairly simple, but doing the accounts is not, and you definitely need the professionals to do that. So just look in your local area. You can Google accountants in Leeds, for example, accountants in London, and you'll be able to find local accountants. They don't even need to be in your local area, to be honest. A lot of the accountants are now online and you don't really need to see them in person. Sometimes you might want to do, which is a reason why I like to find an accountant that's near me, but you don't need to do that, to be honest. You can just find one online and try and find a cheap one. Don't go just for the cheapest. You need to speak to them, find out what they do, what they've done before, just to make sure they're reputable and they know what they're doing and they're not kind of rip-off merchants, because there are rip-off merchants out there. Just look around and, even ask people that are in business. If you know anyone that's in business, I'm pretty sure that they can recommend decent accountants for you. And on top of the yearly accounts that you're going to have done, there's the confirmation statement, which is really easy. That's just to confirm if anything's legally been changed in the business since the last confirmation statement, which is on a yearly basis. And there's going to be VAT submission requirements if you're hitting that threshold. In the UK, it's 85k per year. Anything that you earn over that, you're going to need to be VAT registered and you're going to need to do returns, but you can do claims as well. I'm not going to go too much into that in this video. I'll cover that in a different video. But again, an accountant will do everything you need them to do there. And just as a little final note on that, you're probably going to need to run your accounts through an accounting software. Sometimes your accountant's going to have something that they use and they're going to recommend for you to use. Others not. They'll just say just use whichever and just submit all the information that we ask for. But there's plenty of software out there. There's Cashflow, there's FreshBooks and Xero. There's many others out there as well. Again, you can look into that yourself, but use the accountant. Whichever accountant one recommends is probably the one that I would do, to be honest, because they're used to using that software. So now we've been through all of that, it's time for the fun. It's time for you to set up your very own limited company. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pop over onto the screen. I'm going to talk you through step by step on how to do that. Okay guys, so now we are over in Google. We are going to search for register UK Limited company. And then we're going to scroll down and we're going to come to this website here. So .gov.uk is where you can register companies, you can trademark your brands, etc. So we will now click into here and we're just going to scroll down and we're going to start registering. Click there, and then this is where the process starts. So it's pretty self-explanatory, but I'm going to go through as much of the process as possible just so that you get a feel for it and you feel comfortable going through it. So here we go. Are we starting a new application? Yes. Continue. Okay, so you're going to be asked this. Check before you start. I'm going to ask you some questions. Show whether you can use this service to register a limited company, to take you on to another service if you're not eligible for this one. Okay, so that's fine. Just click continue. We only accept card or PayPal. Yes, okay, no problem. Are any of the directors or persons with significant control on the company's house secure register? If you're not, click no, which if this is your first time you're doing this, then it's probably a no. So you're going to click no, continue. Okay, so this is where we're going to need to create a new government gateway ID, which is basically for you to log in to this system anytime you want, and it's going to have all tax information, company information, things like that. So we're going to need to create that. So I'm going to create that away from here, and then I'm going to log in, but you would click on this, and this is where you would put your email address in, etc. Okay, so now you have created your government gateway ID and you're logged in. This is the next step. So what is your relationship to the company? You are most likely going to be the company director. So we would click on that and we would save and continue. Okay, so now we're moving on to community interest company. Are you a special type of company that exists to benefit the community and its social objective must be written down, etc.? Probably not. If you are, then obviously you can click that, but I'm guessing most companies that are going to be doing this are going to be clicking no. Okay, so will the company be limited by shares or by guarantee? So most of the time you're going to be clicking limited by shares. If you're ever wanting to take profits, we're going to have to choose the limited by shares. You can look into limited guarantee, which is again something for non-profits like charities, etc. So let's just assume that most people are going to be clicking limited by shares. I'm going to click save and continue. And this is where you're going to have to put your company name in. If you remember earlier in this video, I mentioned that you can check the company name just to make sure that it's not trademarked or taken by any other person. So you're going to type your name in here, and then you're going to come down and choose whether you want the ending to be limited, LTD or other. It doesn't really matter here, it's just personal preference. So then I'm just going to come up here and call this Test It Limited, and I'm going to come down, I'm going to click LTD, and then I'm going to click Save and Continue. Okay, so this is good. So someone has already taken this, so you don't really need to go in and check it because every time you put a name in it's already taken. It will tell you here. So you can then just go down here. No, we need to test another name. So let's call it Test It, just to make sure. LTD, save and continue. And there we go. So that's accepted it this time. So we know that that company is not already taken and we can go ahead and use it. So the next thing we're going to do is put the company's registered office address. As mentioned earlier in this video, you can use your home address. If you don't want that to be shown though, you can use the accountant's address that you had it signed up with, or you can actually get virtual addresses. So you can choose any of those. So I'm going to put my details in here, and then I'm going to go on to the next page. Okay, so I've used a random address in Dewsbury. So now I'm going to confirm and continue, but obviously you're going to see the address that you've chosen there. And then next, you're going to choose where will the company be registered. If you're in England, obviously you need to choose that, Northern Ireland, etc. I'm in England, so I'm going to click Save and Continue. And then what is the company's principal place of business? So where are you going to carry out most of your business activity? So unless you've got an actual physical address where you're going to be doing business activity through, then it's usually going to be the same as what you've used to sign the company up with. Or it can be your accountant's address, as it says here. If this will be in different locations, use the address where the company will keep its financial or business records, which is the accountant's. But if it's not, just choose the one that you have used for your company. Okay, so now it will show your email address in here. I've just deleted mine for security purposes. So all we need to just give is a few more contact details in here, and then we can save and continue. Then it's going to bring us to this page where it's going to be asking us if we're replacing another business, which again, if this is the first time you've done this, it's probably going to be a no. Then it will bring us to this page where we need to choose when the company will be starting trading. So you can use a future date, you can use today's date. If you want to get going ASAP and you're setting it up and you're going to be doing business activity immediately, then you can just, on the same day it gets set up. That is what I always choose, unless I'm setting a business up way in advance, but I don't usually do that. So choose that and click save and continue. Okay, in its first 3 months, will the company do any of the following? Pay interest on any non-bank loans, make royalty payments, receive interest or dividends from payments overseas. So that's probably going to be a no. But again, if this is different for you, choose yes, and you're going to have to go through different options. But 99% of people coming through this, it's going to be a no. Then it will bring us onto this page, which, if you remember, I mentioned the SIC code, the Standard Industry Classification Code, I believe. And this is where we need to choose it. So whatever your business is in, you're going to be choosing that. So let's just say I'm opening a pub. Okay, so we have public houses and bars. I would choose 56302, and then I would save and continue. But you can type anything in here. If you're a builder, if you've got furniture manufacturing soft furnitures, of kitchens, etc., it can be anything. But let's just choose a pub, and you can click save and continue. So then this page is just to double confirm that we have a business activity SIC code correct. It is public houses and bars, and if you want to add another one here, you can do that, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to click confirm and continue. Okay, so this section, again, 99% people are going to say no here, and this is anything that has been sent, a secure register form, to company's house for protection. Now, most of you guys are coming in here for the first time, so it's going to be a no. Save and continue. And then in this page, it's where the director's details are going to be going in. If it's just yourself, then you just need to fill that in. And any additional people that you want to add in there, you'll be able to do that at some point. But for now, just put all of your details in here, your name, your nationality, date of birth, job title, etc., and click save and continue. And I'll fill this in and I'll meet you over onto the next page. So now you've filled all your details in, we now need to confirm where we want all our correspondence to come through. And you can add another address and put your home address if this isn't already your home address. So if your registered address is your accountant's, I would use a different address and put your home address so you get letters, etc. sent to there. Okay, but I will just choose this one for test purposes and click save and continue. Okay. What is the home address for John Smith? Again, you just can confirm that. I'm just going to put that, save and continue. Does John Smith want to receive filing reminders by email? Yes. And once we're clicking save and continue on here, it's going to take you to the email address. I've used one of my own email addresses, so for privacy purposes, I'm not going to show you the next page, but you just click yes, I want to use my address, and click save and continue. Okay, so now we've confirmed the email address for communications. Do you want to add another director? This is where you add another director at this point. If not, just click no if it's just you and click save and continue. So now it's going to bring you onto this page to check and confirm all your director details. Obviously I've got John Smith, a random date of birth, and there is nationality, job title, etc. and all your addresses. You just need to confirm that. I'm not going to scroll down because I've got my personal email in there again, so you just need to confirm it all to get onto the next page. Okay, so this next section is all about filing for the company accounts and things like that. So we're just going to click continue here. And do we want the directors, i.e. you, to be digitally authorized to file online? Yes, we do. And then which director? John Smith. Okay, then we're going to confirm whether you have an existing Companies House web filing account. You're probably going to say no, and if you just want to find out a little bit more about it, you can click on that. But I'm going to click on no, and again, it's going to take me to a page where it's got my personal email address, so I'm not going to show this page, but again, it's pretty self-explanatory. Okay, so now you have come onto this page, and I just chose a different address to have all that web filing stuff sent to, and you can see it's just John Smith 2222, and that's going to be your email address where you want anything sent to. Now we're just going to save and continue. Okay, now this section is all about shareholders. Do you have any shareholders you would like to add onto here, i.e. a business partner or another director or someone that's investing in the company that's not necessarily going to be a director? You can add it on here. So are you a shareholder? This is you. Yes, you are. If you're director and you're in the company, then you are a shareholder. You're probably going to be 100% shareholder. So just click yes, save and continue. Would you like to add another shareholder at this point? If it's just you, then click no. If it's not, then you can add the other shareholder. Click save and continue. And then this is just confirming who actually is the shareholders within the company. And we just need to click confirm and continue. Okay, so now do we want to use the most common type of shares? If this is your first time setting up a company, then 99% of the time it's going to be a yes. So let's just click that and click save and continue. How many shares do you own within this? So again, if it's just you, it's going to be 100%. So you can just click one share which owns 100% of the company, and then you can click save and continue. And now you can just choose a value, but it doesn't really matter at this point for you because you are the only person in here. You're not necessarily choosing a value for a share. Let's just put in £1 there. Click save and continue. And then we just need to final check who has the shares, the shareholder value, and then that's it. Confirm and continue. And then we're coming on to persons with significant control. And again, because you're the only person in here as a director, it's just going to be you, but let's just click continue. And then it'll bring you to this page where it says that we know that John Smith is a person of significant control. Yes, because that's the only person, which is you controlling the company. Just click continue. Do you have the right to appoint or remove majority of directors? Yes, because you're the only person again at this point. And then this is just a final page, just confirm everything that we've just been through with persons of significant control, which is you, your date of birth, etc, etc, etc. And then you just need to confirm where you live and confirm control of the company, and you just click save and continue again. And then we're coming through to the Articles of Association. And as you can see here, it says all companies must have Articles of Association. These are rules for the directors and shareholders about how the company will be run. So do you want to use? And you'll click yes. If you don't use model articles, then you're going to have to write and upload your own bespoke articles. But again, this is a standard template, so just click yes and click save and continue. And then now this is basically one of the final points where do you agree to form the company with company name and with shareholder. You can click here to confirm that the person agreed to form the company. Then you're going to click save and continue again. And then we're going to have to create electronic signature for you. So then you're going to put 3 pieces of personal identification, town of birth, mother's maiden name, and you can put your telephone number, and then we'll put in just the father's first name, which is, let's say it's John as well, the first 3 letters, and then we'll just click save and continue. So then this is one of the final pages where you're just checking and confirming all your answers. And because I've got some personal details on here, I'm not going to show all this, but you can see all of this with test date, the address that we mentioned, and everything else that we've entered in here. You're just going to click confirm and continue. Then again, this is just another check and confirm and continue from your answers that you've already given. So I'm going to scroll down and just click save and continue again. And then this is the final page that you're going to come through, which is just a once final check of everything. Once you've done that, you go to the bottom and you click submit. And then the final step of this entire thing is to make payment of £12. The expensive price of £12. I mean, what an absolute bargain that is, really, to set up your own company in the country. So this is the final step, guys. Make the payment. I'm not going to make the payment because I don't want to set another company up at this time. So get that done and click make payment and we're all done. Okay, guys, so that is it for this video. Hopefully it was simple for you. Hopefully it got rid of a lot of worries and concerns, and hopefully it doesn't feel as overwhelming, because I've been there, I've done it. I know what you're going through, and I know the thoughts that I was going through at the time, and it all seems really big and important and overwhelming. But as you can see from this video, it's not. And I really hope you took a lot of value in this video, because I really wish that these kind of videos were around when I was setting up my first limited company, to be honest, which was 5 years ago now. And so I really hope it's helpful, especially for you beginners out there. And I really do hope it's got rid of all those concerns and it doesn't feel as overwhelming anymore. And if you took a lot of value from this video, please like the video, please subscribe, and until next time,